That was the beauty behind closed doors. I knew and Bryce knew our relationship, and everyone else speculates.
So Joe is enormous. How big is that going to be a factor in the way that you're going to be able to play?
I think for him to be a dominant MVP candidate in this league, he needs to be very active at both ends of the floor, because he's a menace when he has that mentality.
Kristian Doolittle passed the ball behind his back, threw it in the air, caught it and shot for his free throw.
Yeah, Puerto Rico will do funny things to you in the off season.
I'm here with John Rillie, and we're only a few days away from the start of the season. It's been nearly 200 days since your last game, so do you feel ready?
You never feel ready for the first game until you get it done and dusted. It was good today to finally have everyone on the court with the late arrival of Mason Jones. It was his first team practice today.
So it's interesting that when you look at all of your years here, year one, it wasn't your team. You inherited the squad, didn't get appointed until July. You start at 3-5, and then from there you go 12-8. So you got better as the season progressed. Year two, Kristian Doolittle arrives late. You start the season at 3-5, and then you go 14-6 from there. You got better once again.
Yeah.
Third year, Dylan Windler arrives quite late, interrupted pre-season. You start 4-4, then go 14-7. So now you've got Joe Lual-Acuil's played twice. Mason Jones has played once. Sunday Desh hasn't played at all. It feels like deja vu in terms of your preparation. Is that a challenge of getting everyone right for the first 2 months of a season?
It's a challenge, and it's just really where the NBL and the world basketball is at with the way our calendar lines up with a lot of pieces in the world as far as basketball. Mason Jones played summer league, so his year really didn't finish till late July, and then he takes his time making his decision on what he wants to do. So it is a challenge, but it's the landscape we operate in. But those statistics you pumped out, hopefully we can start a little quicker in one of these upcoming years.
So what do you focus on as you head into this weekend, and knowing that you have had guys with, I'm imagining Mason Jones is still just trying to learn some blokes' names at this point as well? Yeah,
look, that's part of it. The beauty of being able to watch film of where he's previously played is immensely helpful. And when we recruit, we look at players that we feel like can fit into the way that we want to play. And then also just tailor-making some of the plays around their strengths. So we just need time and get some mileage on the tires so we can figure out what everyone's strengths are.
You have some mileage on your airline miles. You got 2 trips to Cairns and 1 to New Zealand in the first 6 weeks. The Cairns trip, one of those Cairns trips is part of a road double to Sydney. It's not going to be easy for you to get on court with the amount of hours you're going to be in the air. Are you looking to manage that a little bit differently, whether it's go earlier to get on court more or stay on the road a little bit longer?
Yeah, look, I think we got 3 scenarios throughout the year. We're on the road for about 4 days in between games. So instead of trying to come home, we'll just stay on the road. And especially in the early part of the year with our group coming together so late, it just gives us an opportunity to spend a little bit more time around each other. And when you aren't traveling around as much, you do get to practice a little bit more than you normally would, trying to make time to come back to Perth before you head off again.
Do you like the fact they've increased the season so much, and that there are more games being played now than or it's a bit like when you were playing, really, I suppose, but compared to recent years?
Yeah, look, I think the addition of games, and it gets closer to a balanced schedule. I think that's really beneficial for a league, especially one that's so tight as the NBL. So when you have an unbalanced schedule, it does play its role in it. So as we get closer, and 33 games, increase of 4 games, the new Ignite Cup brings a different look and a little more excitement to the league.
You've had 25 weeks to work out how to replace Bryce Cotton. How have you gone about developing a game plan that can fill that hole?
Yeah, that's a common question, and I'm sure it'll be one that keeps coming up. But I touched on it the other day in the fact that we have to appreciate what Bryce did for the club and his own achievements and what he did for the team. You're never going to replace a player, what he does both on and off the floor, his charisma, his dedication to being an elite professional. So what we have to do is just how do we move forward as a team, and what do we want to look like? So it's not as much thinking. I really didn't think about how do we replace him. It's how can we move forward as a group and a franchise, and move forward with Bryce moving on.
So were you part of the decision to give him a deadline to signing knowing that you needed to know what sort of a team you were going to be putting together?
Oh, look, anything around player contracts, that's a club decision. And, there's always multiple people involved in all of this. And we end up doing what the franchise feels is best for them.
So you had some really nice things to say about yourself
Yep.
on the way out, but there was always speculation in the background last year.
Yep.
You two didn't get along.
Sure.
Personally, I never saw it. I
Yeah.
watched you two at training and thought you get along fine. Like, was it challenging when you're hearing that sort of stuff in the background?
Challenging, I guess. It really just tests your own inner belief about your relationships, what you're doing in your profession, and what you feel is the right thing. And that was the beauty behind closed doors. I knew and Bryce knew our relationship, and everyone else speculates. So I'm very grateful and will always be grateful for the words that he spoke, because there's a lot of mutual admiration for what both of us have achieved.
So when you look at what he could do, he barely stepped off the court ever. So you've got to
Yep.
work out another rotation from that. But I thought it was interesting. During the semi-finals against Melbourne, Bryce, Dylan Windler and Kristian Doolittle all played for at least 100 minutes. Ben Henshall played for nearly 89.
Yep.
No United player played for more than 85
Sure.
during that time. So they were deeper in their ability to rotate heavier. Have you gone deeper this year? And will that be a point of difference that will allow you to maybe play differently or use you guys differently?
Yeah, look, at this time of the year, you're always open to a lot of new ideas, and there's been a lot of talk about the depth of our team and the way we've recruited. Now, we play the games, and players have opportunities, and it's what you make of those opportunities, and then that's what gives me comfort moving forward.
Even as a former player yourself, like you played a lot of minutes. It does feel like guys prefer to be out there longer, but modern sport all around the world, no matter what sport you play, is focusing on heavy rotation so you're fresh. What do you think suits players better, the flow of the game or the freshness of coming on and off the bench at different points?
The flow of the game, and that's certainly part of how I coach. When players get in some type of rhythm, you want to maximize when they're in that state of mind. And it's great for us to sit around and create subcharts and all of these types of things and analytics, but the minute the referee throws up the basketball, so many things go out the window because no one could have predicted what happened.
Do you think that more players could play like Bryce does it and have 38, 39 minutes in games?
What I would say to that is no. Just from the pure fact is I was lucky and fortunate enough to be around Bryce for 3 years. He looks after himself so he can play that many minutes. I would go out on a limb and say very few players look after himself, dedicate himself to their profession to give themselves that opportunity.
So if others did, then they're letting themselves down in a way by not doing that, or you think Bryce is just a freak in the way that he sets himself up?
Like he's being gifted with his genetics, but so many players have themselves and they tell on themselves when they don't look after themselves at the maximum level. And, you just got to look at your own habits, what you do that impact that, and are you willing to push some things to the side so you can maximize your profession.
You bring Mason Jones in. He looked amazing on Sunday.
Yep.
7 threes from 10 attempts, 7 assists. How do you see him slotting into the team? Because his shooting was fantastic. I thought his passing really opened up the game.
Yeah, look, he's a natural scorer. It'll be nice if he goes 7 for 10, but let me know anyone that shot 70% from 3 for their career. But just the way he plays, he can for sure score in multiple ways. You saw how deadly he can be from the 3-point line, and he'll do that several times this year. But he can score in a variety of ways. But his playmaking ability as well, and then just you can see he's full of swag.
He enjoyed the crowd as well, didn't he? He was into it straight away. Like, do you automatically look at it and go, oh, what I've seen now, I can make some tweaks to what we're doing and really maximise what he can do?
That's the juggling act with all of these guys right now, like we've seen in the preseason with Dylan Windler. When he gets the ball a little bit more, his usage and his creativity goes up. Joe is very impactful, and then you got Kristian Doolittle as well. So how can we create this within a team environment where we can maximize everyone's strengths? And Mason's just one of those guys that's in the mix for sure.
So Joe is enormous and looked even bigger than what he stands at. He's so long. Like, you haven't had that sort of player. Alex Saab was the same height as him, but was a bit younger. Like, when you look at the athleticism, there was one point he walked down the court in the first game the other day, he got to halfway and then just took off. And then he took it above the rim and like, how big is that going to be a factor in the way that you're going to be able to play, knowing what he can actually do with his movement?
Yeah, look, he's in that stage of his career where he's a veteran. He understands the moments in games where he can be really impactful. And over the weekend against the Japanese teams, he had those moments in both games for us, whether it's at the offensive or defensive end. And then he's been a part of winning teams in the NBL, so he has a hunger to win championships. So the more of those players with that mindset we can bring to the franchise, the greater chance of a championship.
So his work on the offensive end was amazing on Friday night, and then he started, I think it was 4 blocks at the defensive end on Sunday. Energy at both levels, at both ends of the court is challenging for everyone, obviously.
Yeah.
Are you going to be able to get both ends out of him at the same time, or is he going to be a bit like Keanu, who had to rest at times to be able to do that sort of effort and then come back on and go again?
No, well, like that's, we talk about the depth of our team. So early on, like if he's doing his job at both ends of the floor, he will need to have a rest next to me, and then we go with the next man up. So as we get through this, and I think for him to be a dominant MVP candidate in this league, he needs to be very active at both ends of the floor, because he's a menace when he has that mentality.
Could he win the MVP? Like, he was so close a few years back.
Yeah, like for sure. And look, him and I have had minimal discussion around that, as I have with several other players on our roster, because that's the type of belief and faith I have in the guys on our team. But the trick to it all is respecting and appreciating each other's skill set, but also using that teammate to create the gravity for them to be successful.
Dylan looks super fit. The movement that he's able to go, he didn't look as free last year as he obviously arrived with an injury. Are you looking at him going, that's the Dylan Windler of the NBA?
For sure, and like that's why we're the recipient of someone of Dylan's talent. Is like he's had his injury history. Our medical staff has done a great job with him, and then Dylan is meticulous in his recovery. He just needed some time to stay injury free so he could get his body back to a place where he felt like he could be athletic and dynamic at his best. And this off season in the US, like, it was a very, very productive one because he wasn't injured. So he's in a great headspace. I think he's feeling very comfortable as a basketball player. And I've had discussions with him about, like, we just don't need you as a rebounder shooter. We want you as a playmaker, disruptor on defense, that type of stuff. So with health becomes confidence, and I think that's what you're seeing from him right now.
And when you see what Mason just did the other day, that's going to open up the floor, isn't it? To allow one of them is going to be wide open, getting some shots.
Yeah, and look, the way that I look at basketball, and hopefully this roster builds out to this, is when you can space the floor and you have good creative players, that just allows them to use their natural instincts and their skill to the advantage for themselves, but then also for their teammates.
With the way the world's going and NIL deals and stuff like that in the States, and obviously you've got Ben Henshall back, how do you get him in a position where he's able to dominate and shine the way his opponents for spots on NBA rosters are going to in the States when he's playing in a professional league? It's a challenge for his dream, whilst also trying to play in a team environment.
I actually think with our group, it actually makes his achievements or his goals a little easier. He's out on the floor, or he will be out on the floor with Mason Jones, that has flirted with the NBA and had great success at the G League. Dylan Windler, first-round pick. Doolittle, very good player. Joe, same thing, flirted with the NBA, summer leagues, played at high level in Europe. Like, he's playing with some very good players, so he can breathe, he can relax, because he's going to get like a lot of open shots and opportunities, so he can show how he can function with high-level players on the floor.
So will his role change a bit this year to allow him to have more shots as opposed last year. He was doing a lot of great work defensively and bringing the ball up a lot. Didn't have as many shots as he probably would have thought he may have at different points of the year. Will that change slightly for him now?
Look, our style of play and individual style of play won't change at all, because like I'm going to play to the strength of a player. So you know, like at the end of the day, Ben has to shoot at a really good percentage, so then he's effective. Because then if he's making shots at a really high level, then teams are worried, well, do we worry about Ben Henshall, Dylan Windler, Mason Jones, and then the floor just opens up so much. So in the grand scheme of things, that's what we're trying to achieve here.
Did you have any conversations with anyone in the NBA about him and what everyone's got to knock on them for a reason why you don't get picked? Like, did anyone give any feedback to you on what they feel that they need to see for him to get to the next level?
Yeah, look, I'm always trying to find out what the answers are so I can communicate those to Ben or anyone, Alex, Itan Almanza, whoever it's been, because I think that's part of our job, is to try and help these young guys achieve their goals. So for Ben, it really comes down to like just his consistency of shooting the ball. Everyone sees the spurts and the moments, and everyone gets really excited about that, but the consistency has to continue to evolve.
Saw something different on the weekend from Kristian Doolittle, his free throw routine.
Yeah.
We've seen some crazy things people have done over the years in sports. I think Rafael Nadal touches every part of his body before he serves. Steve Smith does similar when he bats, and Matthew Lloyd used to throw grass in the air in an indoor stadium. Kristian Doolittle passed the ball behind his back, threw it in the air, caught it, and shot for his free throw. I haven't seen people doing that sort of a thing before. What's happened?
Yeah, Puerto Rico will do funny things to you in the off season.
He's a good free throw shooter. He was ranked amongst the best in the comp last year. That's a dramatic change. Do you know why he went down that path?
No, as you said, he's a good free throw shooter. I'm not gonna question why he's doing that unless it changes drastically.
Did you do a double take as well?
Oh, like the first time I thought, oh well, this is just like something that he's trying, and then it continued. So I was like, oh well, that's his new style.
Have the stats at training shown it's effective?
Yeah, like he's a consistent performer. He comes in and he has his routine every day. So I don't really think it's going to change at all.
Defence has been spoken about a lot during the off-season. You've made some changes to your roster to help that to occur. How big a change is it mentally for you as an attacking player and as an attacking coach as well to be able to add more defensive elements to this team and maximise the strengths you brought in?
Look, this is a great myth around John Rillie and the Perth Wildcats and defense. And look, we've added some pieces that should help us at the defensive end, but it's really the willingness to continue to compete for more possessions than the opposition. And I spoke about this recently with the Melbourne United series. They were just a little bit more disciplined in the moments than we were. So it is, can we win more possessions than the opposition? And that's at both ends. We've shown that we've done it really good at the offensive end, and that everyone just seems to think because I was a good offensive player, that just happens, you know? It's not osmosis. But with the roster change, I do think at the defensive end, we should just naturally make some nice progress there.
I mentioned Joe's blocking the other day. There were multiple shot clock violations at both opponents throughout the weekend. It feels like the energy on defense and the desire to buy in as a group is really important.
Yeah. Look, Joe's energy that he's just brought to the group in general is really infectious. We know Windler and Doolittle are very good defenders. And then you look at the rest of our roster, they're like maturing young athletes, so they're just naturally going to get better every year. Like David Quera, his improvement in his 3 years with us, although he hasn't got the playing time that he would like, he is making great strides. Ben Henshall, Elijah Pepper, like all young players that are just going to keep growing in those areas. We forget Elijah Pepper was a rookie last year, and in a league where to come in as a guard, like he had a great rookie year for us. So he is just going to continue to grow in that area as well.
You're in the States for a fair portion of the NBL 1 West season. We're just looking at stats going, oh, there's a 49. Oh, there's a 50. Oh, there's a 44.
What he did at that end of the floor, didn't surprise me. Like Elijah's been wired like that since he come out the womb. I watched him in high school. He had some monster games in high school. So he would have just recreated that mentality. And we asked him to work on some things in the NBL 1 season, and he did that with great reward. So that hopefully translates to the NBL.
You have a player on your team who you've known since he came out of the womb. You signed Jaron. Like, we've talked a few times about in different interviews about how well your kids are going. All three are elite athletes in their own right, their own sports overseas or interstate at the moment. He was fantastic. Jaron was fantastic against Melbourne in the Blitz. Then he had 3 turnovers in 90 seconds, I think it was, in the next game. And you had to do the coaching dragging moment and you sort of looked away as you walked past you. Like, how you're finding the challenge of coaching your son when there's through good and through bad, given how tight your own relationship is with him?
Yeah, look that those moments, like any player, whether he's your son or not, understands what the moment was. So, it took care of itself. He performed well at the Blitz. It's fine for me. It's just when's the coach moment, when's the father moment, and for me, that's the challenge, finding those moments.
Have you enjoyed it so far?
Oh, like absolutely. Like I've not been around him for 6 years, so to consistently be around a family member for that period of time is a good thing.
People forget how much you've sacrificed to do this job and be away from your family. Like, is it rewarding to be able to be in a position where you can now actually see him play? Because you didn't get to see him play live, let alone watch him practice or hang around with him.
Yeah, so certainly rewarding. I've been fortunate the last couple off seasons. He comes back and spends some time, and then when I'm in the US, I go and spend time with him. But now to be around him daily and hopefully, be a small blip on helping his professional career out. Is just very good to be a part of it on a daily basis.
Part of me was surprised that he was signed because of the criticism that naturally follows it in every sport. And part of me went, that's just you. You don't care what people think. How have you always been able to allow it to be water off a duck's back when people have a crack at you?
So I'm going into my 31st year as a player or a coach that works under contract. And sometimes I forget, like, I'm the most experienced person in the room at the profession, no matter who the room's filled with. So I've made it work for 31 years, and I'll continue to make it work for a few more years until I would decide I've had enough. And that's where, in what people think are the deepest and darkest moments of a season, I had it as a player, I've had it as a coach, and we figure it out.
Has there ever been something that you've found challenging? Because people go hard, and I'd find it difficult. I stay off social media because I just look at it and go, well, I don't need to cop criticism from people left, right, and centre. I know you're not on it, but people show you it all the time. Mm-hmm. Have you found it challenging over your entire lifetime to handle the way people go?
No, like whatever the worst someone's ever said, I either know whether I'm performing good or bad. And if you have good self-reflection and you're surrounded by the right people, it does not matter what someone else says, and you put in the work, you put in the time, like water always finds its level, so it actually probably has more impact on other people than it does for me because, they see it, they read it, and for me, I just move on with my day.
You actually seem to thrive under it. I reckon. Like Shane Warne, the great Shane Warne used to always say, if the game wasn't progressing in cricket, he'd start a fight with someone. Just start an argument because it got him mentally engaged. Yep. I always feel like when the season isn't going great, that's when you coach your best.
Yep.
When you're down in games, that's when you get aggressive. And it feels like that's when you feel in your happy place.
Yeah.
In a way. Do you find that you are at your best when you're in the underdog status as opposed to in the favoritism status?
Yeah, and look, my career would show that. Like I'm proud and happy of what I've achieved, and I'm not happy and satisfied with what I've achieved at this point. But history is a great indicator, and I've found ways to make it work.
You're in your fourth year in coaching the NBL, only Dean Vickerman, Scott Ross, and Adam Ford remained from year one. There's been 20 head coaches, including interims, excluding interims during that time. You look at other sports with Simon Goodwin and Ken Hinckley in the AFL, Des Hasler in the rugby league. What happened to Ange Postecoglou? It's a cutthroat industry. Are coaches, is the sporting world too hard on coaches and do we not give them enough time to build a program?
Well, the simple and quick answer is yes. But I can only speak for myself because I'm not in those guys' shoes. I'm not working for the franchises that those guys are involved in. But it can get challenging at times, no doubt about that. But that's where you work. And for me, you have to trust your players, and they need to feel that trust that you have in them. And Bryce is a great example, as people used to criticize for how much I would play him. I guarantee if they were standing there, they would have played him just as much, And tell me any coach, any successful coach that has had bad players on their team. Name me one.
Players make coaches, don't they?
Absolutely. And I'm under no illusion of that.
You've got really strong, your work to build relationships with players, especially when you've got a new squad at the moment. Just watched you shooting with Cam Hefner and Ben Henshall. And the last time I was here, you were chatting with Joe Lual-Acuil and Sunday Deck on the sidelines. You're working through everyone. You do work really hard to build a relationship with all your players and work out what makes them tick. Mm-hmm. And I'd imagine how you coach this group would be different to how you coached the loose units 2 years ago. But you found the ways to make everyone maximise their talents. How important is the relationships and understanding what they need to make this group different to what was last year and the year before and the year before that?
Yeah, you need to have a rapport with each player so you can get the best out of them, but they know when you're in a challenging moment that you have their best interests. A couple of years ago, I had one of my assistant coaches, after I had a meeting with a certain player, he goes, that player has no idea of your playing career or what you did to achieve. I said, it doesn't matter. They don't care. They got to know that I care about them first. And when they find out, it actually gives your story more validity then. So you really have to show them that you care and you want to see the best version of them. Because there's going to be a lot of days where they question, do I have their best interests at heart, Your
best interests are in trying to win the championship. You were arguably a goaltender away from getting into the grand final series last year. How many times has that moment popped into your head over the off-season?
Oh, yeah, that's you get out of jail. When you look, you go, well, what if? But then when you take a coach's eye to the game and all the other moments that we could have controlled a lot better ourselves, they're the ones that you really lament on.
It's a tough comp this year. Well, it's a tough comp every year, actually.
Yeah.
It looks really deep. What's going to be the thing that you feel will give you the edge and allow you to win a championship?
Just our consistency in our play, but then rebounding. Consistency and rebounding, and we'll be right around the mark.
Well, season starts this weekend up against Tassie at RAC Arena. Good luck. We look forward to watching you throughout the year.
Thank you. Always a pleasure.